up, everybody?
Hi.
We are back in action after a little bit of a delay.
We
have many things to talk about.
Yeah.
Lots.
Many things on B.A.S.S Now Radio.
Yes, this is B.A.S.S Now Radio, by the way. I'm Lewis.
We're so excited to get into the information that we're going to skip over.
I know,
all
the intro.
introductory stuff like that. My name's Andrew.
Right.
And that this podcast is brought to you by Deep Apparel.
And B.A.S.S or B.A.S.S. Depends on who you ask.
B.A.S.S. And if you want to use their codes.
That's right.
It's B.A.S.S Now for B.A.S.S.
It is.
Capital B, capital N.
It is.
And Sunrise 20.
20, that's what I said.
For Deep Apparel.
That's right.
Go on, check them out.
Yeah. B.A.S.S just got Fire Crawl running, so if you're looking to throw some orange spinnerbaits or just about anything else you want to throw that could be orange,
Now's the time.
They got it.
Now is the time.
Get yourself 10% off. It's running out. So if you're going to get it.
Yeah. Because when it runs out, it's out.
You college guys aren't going to need that next week, I don't think. So don't worry. We're not giving you too short of a heads up. If someone's catching them on an orange bait down there, I'll be impressed. But you could want it for Norman.
Might want for Norman.
You want it.
Might want it for Norman.
So, what do we got on the plate today?
Right,
we got a number of things.
We got a number of things. Obviously, as you're seeing this title, we're going to overshadow the Florida tournament a little bit.
We'll get to that at the end. Yeah, we'll talk about what's going to go on at the end.
Because the big talking point in college bass fishing right now is, well, the struggle with college bass fishing.
Yeah.
And registration issues and
scheduling
issues and a whole lot of other stuff.
And we want to try and make it better.
Yes.
We're going to try and keep everything as positive as possible. I know there's probably a million of you out there who want to curse and yell and show up with pitchforks in Alabama at Bass, but
trust me, we were on that fence about a week ago.
A week and a half ago, yeah. But we've since calmed down. Yeah. The focus is now
we're just smoldering now. We're not like a roaring wildfire of anger.
Yes. The focus is how can we make it better?
Yes, how can we make it better?
That's the biggest thing. We're going to talk to a big proponent who's been on the forefront of the scheduling issues. He had a post that went viral, I want to say sometime in like October, November, late fall, about the scheduling conflicts that seem to happen every year between Bass College and FLW MLF College. And Hayden Scott, the 2020 national champion, 2021. Last year was 2021. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. The national champion, the B.A.S.S national champion. So he comes from a pretty respectable place in that department. So we're going to be getting his takes and his opinions on what we can do to help the scheduling. And I think the real focus of the conversation will just come down to how can we make college fishing better?
Yes. Yeah, that's the whole point of this. And we definitely encourage the college guys just come out right before Florida.
Yep.
College guys are down there for that tournament. Share this around. I mean, we're trying to keep it positive.
Yeah.
We may have been like a little bit of an ignition point for this. So
for those who are listening, I'm waving. This is Lewis.
Yeah. We're gonna try and do, I guess, the more mature approach to it.
Yes.
See if we can inspire you guys to do the same. And but before we have Hayden on, we kind of want to give anyone that isn't in college bass fishing a little bit of background in case you don't know what's going on. Essentially, for college bass, we have 4 tournaments and a wild card.
Yep.
And this is for
everybody has the one state tournament. So
and one state championship. And these tournaments are capped out 250 boats. Mm-hmm. This year we got a schedule registration date later than normal.
Yes.
And
earlier than last year. Later than
normal.
The normal.
Yeah. The
normal world normal.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID
is what we're talking
normal.
about. Yeah. Normal.
And registration opened and there was problems on 2 fronts essentially.
Mm-hmm.
For myself, there was fishing as a solo angler.
Yeah, you'll have the most information on that.
Yeah, essentially the solo angler registration form was not operational at what was 4 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Central time registration. And it took them 90 minutes to get that sorted out and get a new form online.
Yep.
In which they put up a new form and then left out content. So after like 3 or 4 minutes, took it down, and it was another 20 to 30 minutes before they essentially got it working correctly.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to register till about 2 hours after this tournament, after the tournaments opened up for registration. And then for anyone fishing with a partner, there was normal bass registration.
Yes.
Usually everything's time stamped, so it's first come, first serve.
Which it was,
Yeah.
but in a different way.
And essentially, when people were getting angry about how registration is run, there's a lot of confusion about the timestamps and how those all worked, because we were getting conflicting reports of when the people that got into the tournaments versus the people that didn't. There seemed to be some discrepancies, which B.A.S.S has somewhat explained, at least to us, which we're going to get into a little bit. But yeah, it was a big mess. A lot of people were angry.
Yeah.
A lot of confusion. Bottom line, the communication was really what was lacking.
I think so.
Really like our main point.
That was
how we prevent this from happening again.
Yeah. And I think I came out, on social media very hot on the whole thing. I think because I came out a little bit hot-headed, I'll be the first to admit, I think my message was kind of lost. And I think the focal point of my message, like you're saying, was exactly the communication thing.
Yeah.
I just wish everybody was kind of on the same page. I wish that, we were notified maybe a little sooner that what was going on was going on.
Yeah.
For all of you who don't believe this, I think you should believe that this was the most registered for college series ever.
Yes.
I think for a multitude of reasons. I think, 2 years ago was COVID, so obviously half the teams couldn't fish.
Yeah.
Last year was also COVID. You're coming on the back end of the lockdowns and travel bans and all that. I think we fished unaffiliated the whole year.
The whole year. Yep.
So if you weren't able to do that, you didn't get to fish. And then this year, I think that all kind of came to a head as all the travel bans are most likely lifted by now.
Yeah.
Fishing has definitely grown in college. I can tell you from the time that I first started 4 years ago, the boats have all got nicer.
Yeah.
There's more, posting, and everybody just seems the level of seriousness in the college front has been lifted. If you've been doing this for more than 2 years,
yeah,
I think you'd have a hard time disagreeing with that. So it definitely did get filled. There's no doubt in that. And I think it got filled by when people registered. It's just when, there's all kinds of different rumors and words. I don't think anybody got certain definite priority. I think there were just some certain teams, some who knew ways to get around the going through the whole 9 yards of registration. I think that's where the error lies. And we got to figure out how to make that better so that there's a better chance. I think we both got some pretty good ideas.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Hayden might as well on how we can fix that. And as well as I think we're going to end up talking about, with Hayden especially, the idea of getting some kind of board or group together.
Yeah. So essentially I had, for those of you who don't know, I snowboard on a team for UNC Charlotte that does racing. And we have a student government board that contributes to both the communication amongst the teams and then some of the rules decisions for our organization. And essentially my whole idea was we can bring this to bass fishing. It's not like it's don't take this as unionizing. We're not unionizing college anglers. Just simply having college voices, I think will be a good thing. It'll definitely help with some of the confusion.
Yeah.
And definitely some of the wordage and things that making it not so corporate in the rule book.
Yep.
So where it's more understandable. And essentially it stems from, a couple of years ago when we went from the 3-day tournament to the 2-day tournament, a lot of that change was put through by coaches.
Yeah.
Saying hey, we think this would be easier on the college students. And, I think I said it at the time, like they never reached out to any of the clubs that didn't have coaches, which is most of them. Honestly, it's most of them.
If there was a board, that would be the place to go with something like that.
Yeah.
So if we could form that with, and we're not trying to go behind anyone's backs. I mean, we would love to get FLW and B.A.S.S involved in such a thing so that they know, so that they trust, who
Yeah,
is
I mean,
put there.
it would go hand in hand with them, and we'd be working with them closely, and just, I don't know, having that kind of a voice, I think could really improve, especially the communication issues.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Let's try and get Hayden on the phone. See what he's got to say.
Yeah, we're gonna put it on Hayden, and we'll be back in a moment once we get up on the board. Wow.
Yeah.
Words.
What you said.
Yeah. We'll be right back.
All right, folks. We're back here with Hayden Scott, 2021 Bassmaster National Champion. What's going on, man?
Oh, we're currently heading south, me and my partner, Griffin Fernandez, to the first Bassmaster Open event of the season down on Harris Chain. So, a lot better weather down here than at home, I can say that for sure.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you getting ahead of that friggin' ice storm that's coming?
Oh, yeah. We actually left the house at 3 a.m. this morning, and if we would have left at 4 or 5, I think we would have hit it very bad. So,
oh my God.
we kind of bit the bullet, got up early, and started the drive, and we've been fortunate so far.
Good for you. Jeez.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm leaving probably about 10, 11 tonight to get ahead of it. So I'm glad I'm not in your shoes.
Yeah, from Michigan, I mean, this is one of our longer drives, but I don't think we have very few drives that are less than 10 hours. So
Yeah, it kind of comes along with it. Well, I mean, I guess let's hop right into it. We were just talking earlier about, kind of what's gone on thus far with the whole registration process and the mess with that. And I figured you'd be the guy to talk to kind of get the deal on what's going on with the scheduling thing. Because I feel like if we both, we chimed in on the registration, you can put in your part on the scheduling, and then we can kind of talk about how we can make the whole thing better.
yeah, I mean, if just targeting the schedule thing alone is like a completely different thing, but we'll circle back to the registration.
Yeah.
Like a couple months ago, I kind of targeted the registration thing due to my frustration and the frustration of a lot of anglers from this past fall. Because at every single event this past fall, just talking to kids from numerous schools, like it doesn't matter if you're from Carson Newman, Auburn, Adrian, Montebello. I've talked to kids from every single one of those schools, and all of them had that same frustration of like, man, I really hope that B.A.S.S and FLW or Major League Fishing are on the same page as far as allowing us to fish both the Major League Fishing National Championship as well as one of the open events for B.A.S S. Because the last 3 years, you guys know it's the same thing, and it's very clear to everybody because you got to pick and choose.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
you got to go out of your way to fish your conference events for Major League Fishing to try to qualify for a national championship, because just qualifying alone is a huge accomplishment and a huge feat to overcome. And then you face the consequence next year of like, do I go try to fish one of the B.A.S.S Opens to try to compete towards that Team of the Year title, or do I try to fish this national championship to try to get myself that more exposure for it to compete towards a national title?
Yep.
And it's super frustrating because now kind of why I made that post this year is just because I was tired of sitting back and watching the course run and run and run, and there's no solution to it, and it's just going to keep happening unless someone's going to step up, bring light to the situation, and hope that the organization see it and can work alongside each other in the future. Because I know on the business aspect, they don't want to work together. They want to have their superior league, and they're not going to come out and say, like, yeah, I want our organization to succeed more than them, but that's part of business.
Right.
But as long as, if they can work in parallel alongside each other and just have, okay, this is their tournament schedule. All right, we're going to work and schedule our tournament schedule based on it. And if you want to be the best tournament organization, in my opinion, you run both organizations in parallel. And if you're the better tournament organization, then the anglers are going to gravitate that over the other.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that speaks leaps and bounds to me, because if you're just trying to bash one another, it's not going to help out the industry, and it's just going to hurt us college anglers.
Definitely.
Because at the end of the day, like, we're all just waiting for that breakout moment to try to jumpstart our career.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're missing out on opportunities, if I don't build the relationships, it's the same as you guys and all the rest of the college anglers in the industry. If we don't build the connections now, like, we're not going to be able to make it work after college to try to work towards that end goal of being a professional.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the funds. I work 30-some hours a week, as long as, like, and same with a lot of other college anglers, trying to make everything work and everything possible.
Absolutely.
And, like, if I graduate and I don't have those connections to help pay for the open entry fees or Toyota Series, I'm not going to be able to make that jump. I can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's big frustration with everything as far as the schedule standpoint goes. And I mean, I was overwhelmed by the amount of people that supported that post a couple months ago, because I want to say there's either 80 to 110 reshares of college anglers and even high school anglers, which really shocked me, because there was quite a few high school anglers that reshared it and was like, hey, take a look at this. They're trying, like, this post and all the people that are sharing it are trying to better college fishing. So when I get there, then it's going to be a better atmosphere for me, and it's going to be better for me in my future.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like, this is bigger than just college fishing. Like, there's high school kids noticing this. And I knew there was going to be a lot of backlash from both organizations.
Yep, I'm sure.
I knew what the consequences were, but I was just tired of sitting back.
Yeah.
But I was shocked by the overwhelming support by the whole thing, and how many people actually had the guts to reshare it and kind of bring light to that issue. And I knew nothing would probably happen for this year to try to make that work, but I just hope next year and the years ahead that, like, I think it got the spotlight and it got into people's eyes to see this issue. So hopefully moving forward, coming 2023 and moving forward, that this doesn't happen again. But I mean, only time's gonna tell. So we'll see about that.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, this isn't a new thing. I mean, this isn't an MLF thing, because I feel like it kind of began happening soon after the merge.
Yeah.
Or the whatever you want to call it, the split.
Yeah,
but
which I'll also say that, like, I wasn't, like, the attention of the post wasn't to bash
No, definitely not.
Major League Fishing, because they both give us college anglers a platform to build a career and build a name for ourselves, which is huge. And I talked to Ronnie at B.A.S.S, I talked to John at B.A.S.S, and then I also talked to Kevin Hunt at Major League Fishing, and I got to just add suggestions to them and hear their side of the story, which was super beneficial. But I mean, from both sides, they both heard us anglers. They saw the impact of the post, which was huge, and they all recognized it. And hopefully, moving forward, we'll see a change. But I just wanted to say that both organizations heard it, and hopefully, it moves in the right direction moving forward. So we'll see about that.
Absolutely, and I think that's about as good as a transition as we can have into how do we get better moving forward. Now, like you said, we can circle back on registration or scheduling or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's kind of the college fishing as a whole.
Yeah.
Not either series, but how do we make college fishing better? And I feel like if there's some way to get guys together, and we can all throw around our own ideas on how to do that, but getting that some kind of voice together, that voice is not a pro B.A.S.S or a pro MLF or a pro big school or pro small school, like a whole collective voice of the college anglers. Do you think that'll make any kind of difference? And can that even happen?
As far as giving, like, a platform that gives college anglers a voice,
yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
So I would have to say that college anglers have more of a voice than what we think, just because if you look at it as a business standpoint, B.A.S.S and Major League Fishing, those are the companies. And all of us fishing, we're the customers. So if we take a stand and say, hey, this isn't right, and blast it, and, like, hey, like, this isn't right, or this should be changed, because if you just keep bashing something, but you don't throw out suggestions, then it doesn't go anywhere. It just bashes the organization and it doesn't go anywhere. But if you offer suggestions, like, because the thing that I would say to better college fishing as a whole, and we can kind of transition to the scheduling thing here going forward, but to better college fishing moving forward, I would have to say that opportunities for small schools to compete with big schools, because what's different with college fishing compared to any NCAA sport or NCAA sport is if you are a 4-star or 5-star athlete, if you're the best in the country, you go to a D1 classified school.
Yep.
So those D1 schools play on the same level. But when it comes to fishing, there's no reason let's just say a 5-star angler, which isn't even a thing, but a high caliber angler, there's no reason why he isn't going to a small school. So if there's so many great anglers on so many small schools and big schools that there's no variation of, okay, well, this school should be on a higher pedestal because they're a bigger school and they have the funding, so they should have better anglers. When that's not really the case. So I would say as the sport's growing and more people keep getting into the industry, there's either got to be a cap size on how many teams each school can send to a tournament, because when you have teams sending 15 anglers, 15 teams, 10 teams, you're taking up all that space in a 250 boat field. And when there's a junior college or somewhere else, other college that wants to fish, I mean, they're trying to get their anglers in, even if it's their only opportunity to fish that event in their part of the country that they have the funds to go to.
Yeah.
So I would have to say what makes sense to me is to put a cap on how many teams each school can send, so you're not just flooding each event with 18 to 20 boats.
Yeah.
Which I think that would be a huge thing. You guys have your opinion, and I want to hear that just to see, if you guys kind of agree with that or not. But if they don't put a cap size on that and we're still having an abundance of anglers that aren't getting into tournaments that they're trying to fish, then I think that there's just got to be a split of either 2 divisions, north and south, or just something along those lines to give as many anglers the opportunity to compete as possible. Because the sport's growing and everybody sees it. We just need a platform that's big enough to support that many people.
Yeah. Yeah. So essentially when Lewis posted a week and a half ago now about, the registration issues and what we were seeing, we ended up getting flooded with messages from other colleges, where everyone was trying to figure out what was going on. And, essentially, we had people sending us timestamps and hey, this person got in and it was 20 minutes after this person that didn't get in, what's going on. And, we were throwing out all these wild ideas about stuff that was happening in B.A.S.S. And, now that we've cooled off, essentially bottom line is we feel the communication is really the big thing that needs to change between, the organizations and, essentially the student athletes compete for them. And, we were tossing around this idea, based off of other non-NCAA leagues of, can we potentially put together a student-run, organization that can be the in-between, whether it be, 8 to 10, college anglers that are the voice for the colleges that compete. To talk to these organizations, essentially iron out all the issues. And then they'd be the big communication point between, the organizations and us. And, making sure that it's well represented, where you got a spread of, teams that have coaches and teams that don't have coaches, your smaller colleges, making sure everyone has a voice on that, essentially board. We were this could potentially be a thing that works in helping, further along the scheduling issues, when we, talking about, capping teams and stuff like that. Cause that was our big thing when we learned that all these tournaments filled up as fast as they did, was okay, well, how many teams did so-and-so send? How many teams did so-and-so send? And we're over here as a smaller team, having a tough time getting in boats.
Yep.
And, exactly what you said. Like, dang, like we got Norman, which for us is like a home lake tournament, and we can't get boats into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like an idea that we tossed out there. Just trying to get something going in terms of a student representation to, do exactly what you said. And we had told our listeners beforehand, like this idea had come out of, like, hey, like when the decision was made to go from 3 days to 2 days, B.A.S.S came out and said that decision, like the problems that were brought up with it, were brought up by the teams that had coaches, and the coaches were the ones to go to B.A.S.S and were like, hey, like, cause this is something we can work on changing. And they never really reached out to like the students. Like, I don't know about you guys, but for us, we're a student-led organization, and I think a lot of colleges are the same.
Yeah.
And we just never had like an option to voice our opinions on going from 3 days to 2 days. And, doing something like a board could change that,
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. Because the only thing is, when I could see that change happen is when you look at the major circuits, when you're talking about the Elite Series or Major League Fishing or the old FLW Pro Tour, is they tried to have a standardized board of anglers that do exactly what you're talking about. Speak to the organizations, voice their opinions, any concerns that they have.
Yeah,
and they're trying to fill the National Professional Anglers Association, and they were trying to have that board to speak. But there was a lot of people that didn't want to have that backlash of being tied to it, and they thought they were going to have repercussions towards them.
Yeah.
And they were afraid to step up and voice their opinions, and because they were afraid of that backlash that they're going to overcome.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of the same thing with college fishing. There's a lot of people that don't want to just voice their opinions and speak up because, I mean, we're talking about we have a small organization, the bass fishing industry is a very small industry. And if you ruin those reputations and ruin those relationships, then it's done. And I feel like a lot of people are afraid to do that. But just voicing your opinion about a certain issue, you shouldn't be bashed, and you shouldn't have something held over your head just because you're voicing your opinion. I agree with you. I think there should be representation for everybody across the board and not just college programs with coaches. Because, there are issues and there are things that benefit college-run programs that have a coach versus a smaller junior college or small club team that doesn't have a coach. As far as the 2-day to 3-day thing, the reason they changed it from a 3-day event to a 2-day event is to help kids have a travel day to get home so they don't have to miss another day on Monday, which I thought was a kind of a smart move because if you have to miss a whole week and then you miss part of another week, that's kind of a frustrating thing. But I do think that third day, when you're one of just 10 boats going out, is an awesome feeling that I think everybody should experience at some point.
Yeah, but I agree.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And by no means are we saying like, hey, going from the 3 day to 2 days is a bad thing. It was more of just like, hey, like why wasn't like a questionnaire sent out like to each of the presidents of the teams, like, hey, like we're thinking about doing this, like what's your opinion on it? And I definitely think, we've discussed the fact that, they have tried in the Elite Series to like make a group like this before, and it's been tough. And
the anglers can never get together. That's the problem.
Yeah. And I think that like right now and what we're focusing on and trying to like get the ball rolling on this is we kind of got this like lightning in a bottle situation where there are a lot of people that are unhappy with the scheduling issue, like yourself. There are a lot of people that are unhappy with the registration issue, like our team. And I know a lot of other teams that reached out to us that had that equal level of frustration. Can we harness everyone's, I would say, saltiness towards discontent towards what's going on to like make that more positive change and like finally like break through to, most people that are currently upset. Like, hey, if we put this together, like this could help stuff in the future going forward, Yeah.
No, I mean, it's so as we transition into the scheduling thing, like a lot of people know, there's been a lot of people like the wait list is longer than I think it's ever been.
Yeah.
When there's some people that I've seen screenshots and I've talked to people last week about there's kids at Michigan State, Grand Valley, Bowling Green, and Western Michigan, just like all the local areas around us, and all those schools. I think every single one of those kids on each team, which got waitlisted.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's some great anglers got waitlisted too. Like Mitchell Gunn is from Grand Valley. He's a really good angler, and he got waitlisted. And he was, I want to say, he's been at the last 2 national championships.
Definitely.
Won Lewis Smith a couple of years ago, just like a straight hammer, and he's on the wait list.
I remember that tournament.
And there's something going on. I don't want to just throw out a hypothesis about like, okay, I think this is going on, because I don't want to just throw out a speculation.
Yeah.
But there's definitely something there when a lot of guys from the smaller schools that don't have a fully funded program are the ones not getting in when they're signing up at the exact same time as us. Because I'm kind of hard pressed to believe that every single one of the people from fully funded programs signed up quicker than other people that didn't get in.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to believe. I know.
Yeah, and that for us was like the hard thing to believe, was like, statistically speaking, like if you got a team that has like 20 teams and all 20 teams get in, like statistically that's not possible. And that was our whole thing of like wanting to look into it. And, there were people that weren't happy that we were looking into it. And like, essentially our big thing to them was like, and me myself, like I called a lot of people, and I talked to people from B.A.S.S, and the whole thing was like, essentially there was no uniform message. I essentially got different explanations as to why stuff looks the way it does. We have guys on our team that talk to people too, got different explanations too. And, I think, bottom line is that communication just isn't there. Whether or not.
No, I do feel like there should be transparency from the organization to the anglers as far as like, hey, this is why we did this. Or this is why we did this. And if you had any questions or something, you could go directly towards the source and be like, hey, like, I don't think this is right the way you did this, but here's how we could do this better moving forward, kind of thing. Because that transparency is lost. And I think that's the huge thing as far as how to fix the whole thing. I do think there's something going on as far as this goes, but until there's transparency between the organizations and the anglers, then this won't get fixed.
Yeah, and the essentially some of the answers I'm free to say it. Essentially, we had people telling us like, certain teams could group register at 4:00, like one gigantic email, and we had other people tell us that such a thing wasn't even possible. So essentially, like even if such a thing was like done, like essentially like having it in the rules, like, hey, like, yeah, there is like a way to group register, instead of like essentially everyone speculating about whether or not this is happening or not. Like, why, like, where can we, bridge that gap and actually get people to like essentially say like, hey, this is happening or this isn't happening, and it's completely legal. Like if the organization is allowing it, then the assumption is that it is a completely legal thing to do. And if it's completely legal, why hasn't that transparency been made to the other teams? Like that there essentially are like ways that other universities get those opportunities versus the smaller ones.
I think bottom line, this all comes back to how I think B.A.S.S knows after this registration, even if none of that was going on and there is no group registration, there is no, whatever the case may be, there's no question that college fishing has grown in popularity. And there's no question that this probably, even if there was no group registration, would be a problem next year.
Yeah.
So I think B.A.S.S knows. I think we know something has to change. I think we should, come back to how can we have some input on that change, whether it be, like you said, a division or a cap on number of teams or whatever the case may be. How do we have some kind of maybe not input, but just, hey, this is what the guys think,
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would say I don't see how they see all this interest and not do anything with it, because when you have that many people on a wait list and you have that much interest to an event, I don't see how you don't try to make the best league or the best competition ever. If you want the best competition, I say you have to put a cap of how many teams each school can send, because you're getting that best from that team, and you're getting the best from that team. You're not getting a watered down competition, just throwing all these like Tom, Dick, and Harry's at this tournament that never fished before, because if a coach throws 18 teams at an event, their chances go way up.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is huge. But if you throw your best anglers at it, and you have the best anglers from every single school in the country passionate it out, trying to win, then you have a premier league, and you're going to have a true champion of a league, which I think that's the best way to go. And if you still have a wait list at that point, then I think moving forward, there's got to be a division into two different divisions, just to cater to that many anglers.
Yeah,
agreed.
And I think that those are only two ways it can go. And I think Bass knows this. I think that you're going to see change in the future.
Yep.
But they just haven't been able to adjust to the sparking interest in the last couple of years, because the sport has grown immensely in the last couple of years alone.
Yep.
And they're just trying to figure out how to adapt to that. But also, I've talked to quite a few people at Bass, and they're trying to get everything turned around, because they had such a fast turnaround from the end of last year to here. Now we're starting in January. So, I mean, they got a lot on their plate. I understand that, but I don't see how there isn't a change moving forward. So.
I agree. I think there's no question that you're on the ball. I mean, there's going to be some kind of change. It almost has to happen at this point. Yeah. But I guess, we're running you thin here. I know I only said 15, 20 minutes. But we can always come back and talk about this later and try and figure out how we can maybe get a voice together. But to kind of end at a somewhat reasonable time, what do you think about Florida? What's going to go down?
Oh, dude, I have no idea. Florida is an animal of its own. Griffin, my partner, and myself have been talking for a little while, and as far as fishing goes, we love Florida, but as far as the tournament goes, we are scared to death about it, because you could go out and have a great practice and come in with 11 pounds. Yeah. Or you could go out on a tournament day and sack up 20 pounds, and the next day you catch 0. Like, you just never know down here.
Absolutely.
And we're supposed to have a big cold front roll through, so that's going to be a great thing on top of these fish. So, Florida fish, cold fronts, I'm kind of nervous. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm kind of hopeful that the weather isn't going to lie, and there is a warming trend at the end of the week, and I'm hoping that thing comes and it's warm, because otherwise it's going to be a brutal one.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the radar, it's looking like we're going to get 25 to 30 mile an hour winds tonight and tomorrow, so that's going to be another fun one on top of the whole thing.
Absolutely. Jeez.
But no, it's just interesting. I'm definitely excited to kick off the season and try to make a run at a good year and see what happens.
I would agree. I'll be coming for you. I ain't gonna lie.
I don't blame you.
Well, man.
But no, I hope to see you guys down there, and I mean, hopefully it's a good finish for everybody and it's a good time. But I'm definitely ready to kick this season off and get the 2022 season rolling.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think we're all ready to get back to fishing. Bottom line.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate everything you said, and like I said, I hope we can, get someone to help get this thing together and maybe make some change going forward.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for getting me on here and allowing me to voice my opinion. Like, again, it's just my opinion. I'm glad you guys let me on here and kind of speak of what I know, and hopefully we see change moving forward. But thanks again for having me on. I appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Drive
I appreciate
safe.
it.
All right, I'll talk at you.
See ya.
Well, that was Hayden.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah, we're really happy that he was able to come on. And,
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
We kind of
man.
threw it together at the last second, so we appreciate his flexibility.
Yeah, we did. We did.
But yeah, I mean, just hearing his like input on the scheduling stuff, which is obviously like, for us, we were the registration side of the problem.
No, and
he was more focused on the scheduling thing. And I think bottom line is that everyone feels like something needs to change.
And look, I mean, like you said, we came in on the registration side. I made the FLW Natty beginning of my sophomore year.
Yeah, and you had to make a choice, right?
And I had to make a choice between Smith Lake, which was it was a COVID year, Smith Lake, or the FLW Natty. I went and fished the FLW Natty, ended up missing 2 of 4 tournaments in B.A.S.S. that year. And up until now, I can't say anything about year 4 yet. That was the only of my first 3 college years that I did not make it to the B.A.S.S. Natty. Now, that's not schedule's fault. I sucked on day 2 at Toledo, and I sucked on day 2 at Cumberland. But yeah, I had to make that choice my sophomore year, same exact thing. So it's, there's a number of different grievances, like Hayden say, I mean, we really at the end of the day can't fault them too much, because it's not like they have an overarching organization of an NCAA or whatever it may be. It's just B.A.S.S. and it's FLW trying to do the best they can to give college guys an opportunity. So, no complaints in that field and in the field of giving us the opportunity. It's just, we wish a couple things could be tweaked. I mean, bass fishing, as we all know, is growing. And I feel like within the pro series, I feel like this is bass fishing across the board. A couple tweaks on every level, and this thing can really take off.
Yeah,
I'm talking about fishing
essentially, like our whole input on the idea of like putting together this like group of college anglers to help guide things is that, we're not looking to take over anything or make some kind of like drastic changes or like go over people's heads.
Not at all.
But if, the B.A.S.S. staff, as we know, as we've all heard with the problems with registration, like we're shorthanded, between the exit of Hank, new tournament director coming in, and COVID and all this other stuff. I mean, is it so bad to have a helping hand to like lean back on? Like,
yeah,
we could be that like helping hand. Like no one's gonna like deny like, oh, like if someone wants to help with something, like no, I'm just gonna struggle with it.
Right.
Like, I mean, people are gonna accept help, and essentially that's our whole idea behind getting this group of anglers together is, we can help each other. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely. And it's not to help any, like I said, any organization more or less. And in a dream world, I think, not even in a dream world, I think in the world where this idea works, we need to get the blessings of B.A.S.S. and MLF.
Oh, absolutely.
To have trust so that when they go to us or when we make a statement, it has some weight behind it because they gave us their blessing in organizing it.
We essentially, the reason we're putting this out now and kind of like overshadowing Florida is that we're essentially encouraging everyone in Florida. Yeah. While you're here this week, talk about it. Talk amongst your teams. Talk with other teams. I mean, if it's something that a lot of people are into, like we should definitely, get the conversation started, especially amongst the colleges. I think, getting that initially started is a big thing.
Absolutely.
And, anyone that's interested. Yeah. Feel free to reach out.
I mean, I
either Lewis or myself.
I meant to say Instagram. This at the beginning of this episode. Please. I mean, I encourage anyone to reach out. And, if someone from B.A.S.S. or MLF is listening to this, I mean, this is by no means any kind of shot or anything. It's simply, we want to help make you better at the end of the day. So when you guys go and, if you listen to this episode, you go and talk to your buddies, throw around some ideas. What do you think would be a good solution to solving this? I mean, full transparency from me, we talked to Hank. We talked to guys at B.A.S.S. There's over 150, 200 people on the waiting list. Yeah. I don't care if everybody got to register early. There's only 250 spots. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or if everyone got to... Basically what I'm trying to say here is I don't care how many people, if everybody registered the exact same way, going through the website, the whole nine, which to my knowledge may very well have happened. Like you said, we've heard voices.
It's been a really tough to like get a solid answer on that.
Right.
And I think that's where like a whole big thing about transparency thing
At the end
comes
of the day,
about is like, hey, like, can we get clarifications on these things? And it shouldn't be such a bad thing to ask those questions. Like, if it's happening, then why keep it hidden, you know?
Yeah, and bottom line is if there's 450 people who registered, there are 250 spots.
Yeah.
So you guys can sit there and be as angry as you want about the fact that you didn't get in. At the end of the day, whether everyone ordered in order or registered in order or a group order, whatever the case may be, there's only so many spots, and there is a significantly more amount of more interest.
Yeah.
There we're going, regardless of who got in, maybe a couple more from a bigger school got in than we would prefer or than sounds right to us. Bottom line is there's a lot of interest and there isn't enough spots.
Yeah.
So what can we do to either do divisions or limit per team or XYZ? There's a whole number.
There's a lot of options.
You guys come up with your solutions, and I think the bottom line, as we've harped over and over, is somehow getting guys together and we could vote on something like this. And if you get a credible group of 8-10 guys, that's when you can go to B.A.S.S and MLF and say, hey, we don't, that's when we can have a conversation down the road. But I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, for sure. If you got input,
please reach out.
If you're intrigued by the idea of doing such a thing, like you said, obviously we want to hear from you, and we'd like to get something going. We're essentially trying to be the catalyst for this kind of change. So
yeah.
Well, let's end. Obviously, we kind of overshadowed the fact that we got Florida.
What do you think? You ain't going. I want to hear what you think.
I'm not going. I think that Hayden touched on the big thing. Quite frankly, I think this tournament is going to be terrible.
Really?
I think it's going to be so bad. With this cold front moving across, this is like cold temperatures that Florida hasn't seen in like years.
It's going to be cold.
Coming in like right before the tournament. So like it's supposed to warm up.
Yeah.
I just don't see the fish. I think it's going to shock the fish so much that 1 or 2 days of warmth isn't going to matter. I think it's going to be really tough. I think that there are going to be a couple of people that will like figure them out and catch a good bag, like over 20.
Yeah.
But I think you're also going to see a lot of teams that struggle with like 2 or 3 fish.
Yeah. I think it's going to be pretty good. I don't think it's going to be excellent. I think it's going to be pretty good simply because I agree with you. Those fish are going to be shocked. I think there's going to be a day or two there, like Tuesday, where it's going to be like, holy hell, how do we get a bite?
Yeah.
I think once that water, the air moves up a little bit, I think this could act as almost like, in March, in what feels like the rest of the country and not Florida, you have that one like 70-degree day that
like gets real good.
It happens.
Yeah.
I think you could see the very beginning of that. And the reason why I say that, the water temp in Florida is like 75 right now.
Yeah.
Supposedly it's like way hotter than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, I feel like we need a little bit of cold down there. My only concern is exactly what you said. I don't know if 1 or 2 days will be enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
if the tournament started like Monday, I'd be like, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just think with like those Florida Australian bass that are really temperature sensitive in the first place.
Moody buggers.
I don't know if it's enough turnaround time between the cold leaving and the heat coming back to get them back in the mood of eating.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's like 2 days too early.
Agreed. I think that's why I think we'll see the very beginning of it getting good.
Yeah. I definitely think second day is probably even better than first day.
Yeah. And the other thing is it's Florida, and it's almost like to me, it seems like, at least on the Harris chain, which I think is one of the better fisheries in Florida right now. If you go back and look at FLW tours, Bassmaster Opens, college events, the weights there have been good for years now. Like, it is consistently good. Not off the chain, but good.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see 42. I think you're going to see probably closer to like 46 win this tournament for 2 days. That being said,
I'm going to write this down because we always forget
write
to
it
go and
down.
look at
Write it
this.
down. I think about 46 wins this tournament. Let me say 45, 22 and a half a day.
All right, you're saying 45. And what's your cut weight? What do you think cut top 25? It's obviously going to be top 25 on the dot. So.
A month out, I would have said 14 a day. Okay. I would have said 28. Now, I want to go a little lower because I agree with what you said. I don't think it's going to be like the reason why I say 45 top end is because somebody in a cold front in Florida could get to punching. If you remember in the FLW Tour years ago, Laramie Strickland did it. Awful cold front. The whole field struggled. He went and punched up 32 pounds. That's just Florida.
Yeah.
That happens. So I think the winner, I don't think the winner is going to have two 22-pound bags. I think he's going to have a 28 and a 17.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. Whereas I feel like the cut weight where I would have said the top 25 would be maybe 28 pounds, 14 pounds a day. I'll cut it back a little bit. I'll go to 27, 13 and a half. That's really not much of a change, but it kind of is in Florida.
Okay. So I'm not going to lie. I was going to do around 45 too.
Okay.
For a win. So I'm going to go a pound light just to make it interesting. I'm going to say 44. We'll see who's closer.
Okay.
God damn, everyone's trying to contact me.
I know. Same here.
You know, cut weight, I really do think it's going to be a struggle. We said 27 for 2 days, 13 and a half. I'm going to say 23 pounds.
Under 12 a day. I'll remind you with that I had 21 pounds when I was there.
Okay, see here, last year, I'm coming with a different approach because last year I went back and I looked and I was like over on almost every one of my predictions.
Yeah, so you're going under.
So now I'm like feeling like under, like I was trying to like give the places more credit than I think they like deserved.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the only one that I was under on was Saginaw.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I really do think it's gonna be bad.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go for my bad take.
Trust your gut.
I'm gonna say 23. I'm gonna say 23. Yeah.
Nightmare scenario for the field. I'm sorry. I like it. I'm here for it.
And I'm on board with, I think the guy whatever team wins this, their first or second day is gonna be astronomical. And their other day is just gonna be like average.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see anyone putting together 2 amazing days.
I don't either.
I really don't.
I don't see. I would be surprised if more than like you almost have to put if you were to put an over under on teams that weigh in 20 pounds both days, what's the number?
Oh, not many.
I think mine's half. Over is 1 team, under is 0. I almost think that's a good line.
I don't think it's going to be many teams.
I don't see 2 doing it.
I don't think so either.
I don't see 2 doing it. I think if
I'll be a little bit over on this. I think you're going to see 3 teams.
I don't. I really, really don't.
I think you're going to see 3 teams.
See 1.
But I think that it's going to be really close. Like I think all 3 teams are going to have like 20 to like 20 and a half pounds.
Okay. We'll see.
So, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
If you do, you're going to be close to winning the tournament.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you top 3.
Yeah, agreed. I fully agree.
So,
it's going to be interesting. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we're all excited. This is the second tournament. Sorry. We had the MLF event.
We did.
At Harris Chain.
Which we could go over, but we're not going to.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get that on next.
Good job
episode.
to the winners.
How about that? We'll do a Harris Chain episode. We'll talk about MLF Harris Chain winner and Bassmaster.
Yeah.
Harris Chain winner.
Yeah. Let's try and get the winners on. Screw it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Both winners.
Both winners? Well, at the same time?
Not at the same time.
Compare and contrast techniques to win. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. We're going to see. I'm excited to get it going. Senior year, this is it for me. I did get into these tournaments, and I'm very excited to fish. So,
yes,
I was quick with the fingers. What can I say?
I was quick with the fingers once they fixed my form. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in.
I got to go pack the truck.
Yeah, he's leaving. I'm not. Tough.
Tough.
And like we said, we're trying to be positive about the situation.
Absolutely.
And we encourage you guys to be positive about the situation.
And hey, if any B.A.S.S guys, employees, supporters want to reach out and
talk to us,
please do. I encourage it. I really do. I think the best thing that come out of this is conversation.
Yeah. I think that's the main focus. So.
Yep. Agreed.
Alrighty. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in. For those fishing Florida, good luck. Have fun. Stay safe.
Yeah.
And the rest of you that aren't, well, stay safe because we got Snowmageddon moving in here and then, well, pretty much the whole East Coast. So,
yeah.
Stay safe with that. And
absolutely.
we'll be back.
We will be back.
Bye.
Peace.